Hello and welcome to another episode of Roy B. the Middleman podcast, Season 2, Episode 9. And after the last episode with Alicia, I'm back to Season 2's format with my lovely partner, Aida. And today, we're back to the conscious relationships. We're going to be talking about conscious relationships with our health, bodily health more than mental health, because that's a podcast all on its own. So before we get into all that, quickly say hello, Aida.
Hello. Thank you, beloved. Super excited to be sharing this again with you, with my beloved. So looking forward to it.
And before I get into all the juicy stuff around conscious relationships with our health, our bodily health, time for the intro.
Conjuring the middleman, wisdom from Marlin's man. Roy B. the middleman, set yourself free.
Super. And the guy that actually created that, we've actually just started up a football fan forum around Man United. So it's all about, your mind, body, spirit. You've got to do the human journey as well as the spiritual journey. So, yeah, that's been fun. It's just going bananas because there's so much stuff going on at the moment. It's just terrible. It's causing me stress and, linking into the bodily stuff. So, conscious relationships with our body. And this is going to cover things from food to how to tune into your body and all those juicy things. So I'll initially pass you over to my lovely beloved and she can start you off.
Amazing. Thank you. Conscious relationships with the body. So this is such a huge part of our spiritual journey, right? There's a lot of people who are going on about their spiritual awakening, and when you first step into it and you become more conscious and more aware and more awake, then it becomes about the spiritual journey. And somehow we seem to neglect, and I've heard this physical body been referred to as a meat suit and this flesh, and it's said in such a way where it's almost derogatory. However, we are spiritual beings having a human existence, and beloveds, you selected this divine human physical body to incarnate in this lifetime in. So everything up until this point and moving forward, the choices you continue to make are part of your human experience. And like Roy starting his Manchester United forum, because that's part of his human experience. We are so allowed to have part of our human experience and the fun and the experimental and play as part of our spiritual experience in this human body. So your relationship with this physical body is paramount to your spiritual journey in this incarnation, in this lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Aida was talking, there's so much information coming to me about, you can't do the spiritual journey in this life without a human body. So every time you're going, I don't want to be human, and I'm guilty of that too. I don't like being human. And saying it's just a meat suit and blah, blah, blah. The energetic vibrations that your human body is receiving from that, and then it starts to, if you don't look after it well, if you don't give it the oil it needs, like your human oil, whatever that may be, whether, quality water, let's start there.
Yeah.
To any spiritual healer, anybody that's doing the healer's journey, that works professionally or even part-time and classes themselves as a healer and doesn't drink quality water, that's like giving a $1 million car corn oil for its engine.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work, because you're not going to be able to channel that energy through from the spiritual to the physical to release the residual of what's left after doing a healing. Because when you do a healing on another being, on another person, there is going to be a physical residual from that channel of energy. And if you're not using quality water, you're not flushing it out properly. And if you're not flushing your body properly with toxins that you've taken on board energetically, it's become physical, they're going to stack up and stack up and stack up, and sooner or later it's going to start causing challenges within the physical realm, and your body will get sick.
There is, speaking to that, such a ton of research done on how every pain, dis-ease, body issue that you have is a stuck emotion, right? And that's part of just the integration of our human experience. We chose a physical body to incarnate in and experience life with, so embrace it. We can't experience sex and chocolate and swinging on swings and fun and play and football as a spiritual being. We get to look down upon these things, and I don't mean look down as in frown upon, I mean look and be around it, but we don't actually physically get to experience it. So this divine human body that you have so chosen, in all of its challenges and experiences and life lessons along the way, you've chosen to have so that you could have sex and eat chocolate and drink wine if you so choose to. And however, the divine balance is balance, right? It's really respecting, first and foremost, really honoring and essentially the love vessel that this body is, and full respect to your highest level self, spirit, God, universe. You are God self-incarnated into this human experience. Do you think God would treat a physical body like a garbage tip? Would it not give it high quality water? And would it not nourish the most precious thing you have? Because beloveds, I've said this before, this is the only physical place you actually have to live in this incarnation and in this lifetime. So treat it with the respect and the love it so ultimately deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm going to stress this very, very, very strongly. We're not doctors.
Nope. No.
You know, we're not doctors, but we are intuitive eaters.
Yeah.
And we've all, and in regards to that, we've all got different diets.
Yeah.
And there's different modalities out there that help you, if you're not great at tuning into your body, there's plenty of people out there that can help you understand what it is that your body needs. And we've been in a partnership, not 7 months now, actually. We forgot the 7-month anniversary.
Feels like 7 years.
It does, yeah. We're doing 1 month per
Bless
year,
her.
which I think we've spoken about. But Aida's vegan.
Yeah.
And she trusts her body and knows her body. But at no point has she ever tried to bring me into that. Yeah, she's brought a bit more of that into my diet, but that was always through my choice, because I grew up on vegetables. I'm English, so it's like meat and two veg. That was my thing. But the thing is, my body does still need meat. And I know that's going to trigger some people out there, because it's all about, killing animals and all that stuff. But as long as we do that consciously, and we find, and I can certainly find and source my meat dishes from someone who humanely looks after animals. It's not that hard these days. And that's the thing. But even if I don't, I'm nourishing my body that then gives me a greater capacity to help others, that has a snowball effect and has a pyramid effect. If I help one, they can help two, they can help three, and so on and so forth. And that raises the vibration of the planet in a whole way. And that's just me nourishing my body and listening to my body. My body tells me when I need meat. Just like it tells me when I need vegetables, just like recently it was telling me I needed vitamin C. So it's not me justifying the fact that I want to go and have a steak. That's not the case. And because at the moment it's telling me I don't want, there's certain meats you can have, but not chicken. And I trust that, because it's upsetting my stomach. It's upsetting the part of my body that says, both physically and energetically, what's good for me and what isn't. For whatever reason, all chicken is tasting off right now. For me. Right now. It might change next week. Why my body needs vitamin C, I don't know. But I was trusting that intuitive sense. So plenty of mandarins, plenty of oranges, plenty of orange juice, not reconstituted orange juice. That's just for those that don't quite understand what reconstituted means. It just means they've been frozen, then they're unfrozen before they're juiced. So you just lose a little bit of the quality and nutrients in that process. Whereas like if it's juice fresh and it's pulled free and it's 100% and there's no reconstitution, then you're going to get that goodness of the fruit straight away. Little bit of, I only found that out quite not so long back. So, you know, it's that knowledge helps you nourish your body better.
It's such an important fact, and we only would like to bring more conscious awareness to what you're actually physically putting in and on your body right now, because there's a huge difference between self-care and self-love, right? Nourishing your body with good quality water and high vibrational foods is an act of self-love. And self-care can also seem that way, and it can be the physical appearance of stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, it's like you can paint an old house and just stick a lock of paint over the front, but it doesn't actually change the interior, right? We need to be, change starts within. Be the change you wish to see in the world, to quote Mahatma Gandhi. Right? But that also is with your body, and it's the consistency, because one salad isn't going to make you healthy. One visit to the gym isn't going to make you fit, right? And a lot of people find it challenging to find the consistency, but it's beginning with the conscious thought process first and foremost. And I always begin with just drink water, good quality water, and just, beloveds, do the very best you can. Because, again, even though we're not talking so much about the mind, your mind will play an huge part in what you actually feed and do with your body, right? So if you're eating a salad and not liking any part of it and hating it and begrudging it, your body's actually going to resist it. And there's some really fantastic science. Like Joe Dispenza is just an incredible doctor who's done a ton of science on how your body and mind relates to each other, as well as Deepak Chopra and Carolyn Myss. There's huge amounts of research out there if you want to go into the science side of things. I'm a bit geeky this way, and certainly when it comes to the body, I love energy and body work especially. Yeah. But the more you consciously know that this salad's going to be elevating you, and when I have a piece of cake or a little bit of sugar or something that I'm consciously choosing to, I bless my body. I bless the food before I eat it, because that's a huge thing. And it's your body will receive all of the nutrients it can from what it will take from the thing that you're eating, regardless of what it is, and then it will dispel it. But then you can't continue to treat your body that way if you're constantly eating junk food, fast food, processed food, and going, oh, but my body is going to be absorbing all of the nutrients. It can to a certain part, but you also have to aid your body in also nourishing it with high vibrational foods, high quality foods. I'm hearing the kind of order. I hear you, my loves. I really do. Do the very best you can with what you have. Because whilst those foods may seem cheap, health is your greatest investment that you'll ever make. And always, always, always invest in your health.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and we go to the markets. Good food is actually quite cheap. Yeah. It's cheaper than the supermarket sometimes. You just have to go out the house and go to these local food markets. That way you're supporting local farmers, because there's a big thing around that at the moment, supporting your locals.
Yeah.
Well, and then you get an exercise, because you're going out and you're having to go out early in the morning, because markets are normally on from 6 till 12. And there's plenty of farmers markets around.
Yeah. Community gardens.
Yeah, community gardens is making a resurgence. I mean, we're based in Australia. I mean, community gardens in England, as far as I know, are still a big thing. They're called allotments in England. So, I grew up having a couple of allotments, and we also had a garden patch out the back. So not everybody has access to those, but it doesn't take much. You've got the internet these days. You've got, Facebook groups and stuff like that. Community gardens on Google, you'll find one near you. And if there's not one near you, start one. Have a word with the neighbour who's got plenty of land, who's not doing anything with it, and say, look, do you fancy starting a community garden? And start that way. If you really want to do that, if you really want to take that next step into this relationship with your health and with your food, because it is a fundamental relationship, you and your food.
Yeah.
It's so easy to go to McDonald's. It's so easy. And the thing is, that's not about your health. That's about convenience. Yeah. Health is not convenience. But with a little bit of effort, it can become convenience and it still be healthy. And, when you say, well, I don't have time, time's an illusion. You can create time.
Yeah.
So, this is where you've got to be totally honest with yourself and see where you're making the excuses for yourself, so you don't have to take that effort and look after your health, and therefore look after yourself, and therefore look after your self-worth, your self-love, and all of those things, and start asking yourself, okay, why am I not loving myself? Well, why am I eating my emotions? Yeah.
Big one.
Big one incoming, because as Aida said, like, all of our dis-ease is backed up by an emotion. And a dis-ease or an ailment, it tends to be a stuck emotion where there's no flow, because emotion stands for energy in motion. So that energy is not in motion, and it's sitting at a joint or in a part of your body, an organ, or your chest. It will sit somewhere. Wherever you've got pain, that's energy not moving.
Yeah.
And there's, like Aida said, there's literature out there, like Louise L. Hayes, another one, that has a book that has an index and then has mantras to speak that helps this energy start to move. And then in theory, the pain should dissipate. In theory, I'm going to stress that very strongly, theory. But I've done some work around this and pain has gone. And there's plenty of others, and there's plenty of documentation out there where people have shifted stuff. The amount of people that have been told, the amount of stories that are out there where people have been told, no, you've got cancer, you're going to die, and then they've just shifted their mindset, and then the cancer's gone and never come back. You can't discount that because there's just too many stories. If you want to read what I think is a Nietzsche Borjami, Dying to Be Me, that's a real brilliant book about being pretty much at death's door, and then read that book.
Healing herself.
Healing herself, yeah. And, and speaking of healing, the Reiki practitioners or the energy healers out there, you can bless your food, you can bless your water before you drink it.
Yeah.
So you say, well, what is high vibrational food? Make it high vibrational. Use crystals. Do your research, because there are certain crystals you cannot put in water because they either make them toxic or, malachite is one, but malachite definitely one. And other crystals actually just dissolve in the water, and like selenite, but you can put it next to the glass. And it will still absorb the energy of it, which then infuses in your body and makes you feel lighter and brighter and higher. And then your body appreciates that, and then it starts to shift.
If you, like, coming back to that water point, if you look at Dr. Imoto Mazuru, like, I'm sure, forgive me, I may not be pronouncing that correctly. I think it's Mazuru Emoto, actually. He's got Facebook groups. He's got a book called about water, and I got goosebumps just speaking about that. He shows you, because we're made up of 60 to 90% water, right? So he shows you the power of words and affirmations with water. So he's actually spoken to water, and he does a whole rice project, and this has been done repeatedly by studies, and science has backed this up, that there's a glass of rice with water in it, and one glass he speaks telling it it's a piece of shit and how rubbish it is and all of these like poor things, and then on the other glass he's speaking love to it, and I love you and I'm so grateful for you. And then at the end of 3 weeks, the water glass that has both have rice, one that has love written on it and has all these beautiful high vibrational words spoken to it, is thriving. The other glass is moldy, right? Same environment, and even just having 2 different words placed on the vessel has had a huge, profound difference. So too with our bodies. If our body is made up a minimum of 60% water, then of course if you're speaking kindly to it, and if you're blessing your water before you drink it, I activate mine just by shaking it, because water's not meant to be still. Look at oceans and bodies of water, they're moving, right? So yes, of course it's easy to carry water in a vessel, right? You can't always get flowing water around that's good drinkable water. So we have beautiful alkaline water. I shake my body and I bless it before I drink it every single time. And I do that with my food. And you don't need to be a Reiki master or a practitioner or to have a healing modality in you, because this is the power of who you are. You are God's self energy. You are source energy. So blessing it, gratitude for the water or whatever you're about to partake in, and blessing it will activate it for you, and so too will it then embody in you. And as just you were speaking earlier about research and studies, like about pain receptors in the body. Well, Joe Dispenza just recently did a study. We spoke to a study, and I know that I refer to him easy because he's all over YouTube and super easy to find, that when you focus on pain, it actually amplifies it. And when you focus on gratitude, people have no longer felt their pain. And if you are God's self, and you know what you would like, if you can cut your skin, or if you happen to break a bone, or, you know, if you get grazed or your skin gets cut, it has the capacity to heal. You are an incredible being with such enormous capacity to heal. We simply need to create the environment in which to heal in. That is heart, mind, body, spirit, all one, connected, integrated, aligned, and we support that with nutritional, high vibrational foods and water.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the easiest things you can do with food, if you don't consider yourself to be an energy healer, is positivity and gratitude. I love this food, and I'll thank you for making this food. Thank the farmers that grew it. Thank Mother Earth for giving the dirt to grow the food. That kind of thing, it's kind of like saying grace, really. You don't have to be religious to say some form of grace, that to give gratitude for the food, and then that energy goes into the food that then goes into your body, which then makes you feel better. And so it's about listening to your body. If your body aches or grumbles after you've eaten something, don't eat it for a week and then replace it with something what you would consider better. And see what happens. Because the good thing with food, you can experiment. Just like, if you don't believe the Japanese guy's name with the rice and the water, try it yourself.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of posts out there where the schools do it. And that, in the entrance to the school, they've got two plants that are about 2 or 3 meters apart. And one says, look, we want you to say horrible things to this and say that and say nice things to that. And the one that has horrible things dies very quickly. It's been repeated many, many times. So for the scientific brain out there, it's just through the scientific method alone, without talking energy, it works. It definitely works. So blessing your food, blessing your water, finding markets to go and buy your food that's come straight from the farm. There's plenty out there that are also organic and pesticide free these days. So you ain't got the chemicals coming into your body. Because processed food is GMOs, chemical. And we are going to sit on our horse about this. And they're also full of sugar. And that's the component that kills you. Sugar is far more addictive than cocaine.
19 times.
Yeah, and it's far more deadly. I mean, the obesity rates are shooting through the roof because there's sugar in so much food these days. And if you don't believe me, start reading all the ingredients and look how much sugar's in food. Then you start wondering why is there sugar?
It's addictive.
The lightly salted potato chips, sugar. Why is there sugar in those? Find a packet that doesn't have sugar on it. We're not saying don't treat yourself, because it's also good to, the way I've always taught people in the past, because I'm a medical medium, so I'm able to tune into people's energetics and give them guidance on their diet. Again, I'm not a doctor, it's just guidance. It's up to them whether they go ahead and take that or not. At the end of the day, if you're asking them to eat a bit more fruit, there's no harm, no foul, really. I don't think there's anybody out there that's allergic to fruit. Nuts and stuff, and I know there are food allergies out there. However, saying that, you're tweaking your body from processed foods to just cooking light. It doesn't take much to chop a few vegetables, tin of organic tomatoes that's sugar-free in a pan, and nourishing. And if you do like your meat, throw in, whether you want a bit of salmon that night or a fish or you want a bit of pork or a bit of steak, doesn't matter, whatever it is, that's a wholesome meal for your body, and your body will flourish with that. And any aches and pains and any illnesses, you give your body the fuel to overcome those, you'll find yourself, and the more healthy you become, the more active you become, and it becomes a positive snowball. If someone says, if you've got aches and pains that you've had for a while, and instead of saying, my elbow's chronic, it's healing. Change those words. Oh, yeah, I'm healing right now. Even that in itself is saying to your body, oh, okay, I'm healing. The words tell your body how to act. So if you're telling it, if you're saying to yourself, I'm sick all the time, what do you think your body's going to do? Oh, I'm sick, am I? Okay, right. Well, I can't think of anything. I'll find something. And that sounds ridiculous, but sounds crazy, but that's how the body acts. And again, going back to Joe Dispenza, he talks about how we can allow the mind to become the body. Sorry, the other way around. The body to become the mind. The mind tells the body how to act. The body is just a feedback system. Just like the indicators, just like all the warning lights in your car. If a warning light comes in your car, you don't replace the bulb, you go and look at the engine or whatever that warning light pertains to. The body is exactly the same. And it's easy to find the books out there that have these, talk about what emotions mean this. Just find a couple, use those as your reference point. You got an ache in your body, go, look, see how accurate it is. You'd be very surprised. And then you can start going, okay, well, with knowledge comes power. And then you can start that journey, because it's not going to happen overnight. You start that journey of making your mind tell the body to heal, to be healthy. Look in the mirror and go, yeah, I've got a healthy body. Even if it's not showing you that right now, you keep saying that and keep telling the body to be healthy, it will start to change. And then your cravings will change. And I know this because I've done it myself. And I'll absolute disclaimer, I've never been overweight, simply because I've done exercise my whole life. And I haven't done any serious exercise for probably near 8 years now. Once I retired from playing football on a weekly basis. Yet because of muscle memory and because my mind was telling my body for 30 plus something years that it's fit and healthy, and it retains that very easily. And then I start going down the gym through my lovely partner's encouragement. Jim used to bore the crap out of me, but my body responds within a week, because I've always said, oh, my body responds within a week. That it's been told what to do, and it does that without fail. And I've just, I'm 51 now, so it's not like I'm what be considered young and healthy, middle-aged, where your body starts to slow down a bit. So it's definitely a thing, and I can speak from personal experience.
It's beautiful. And Anthony Williams, the medical medium who has books out there, who also says that, food is such a massive contributor to our health, right? And then there's also, whilst Roy he's always been quite lean his entire life, I have been quite the opposite. Throughout a greater part of my life, I was quite obese. And that's a part of me eating my emotions, right? Not wanting to feel what I want to feel, not dealing with life as it was being presented to me, being stuck in, and I'm going to say the word victimhood, but I'm owning that. I was taking full responsibility, and I was eating things. And even though it was making me feel awful, one, I initially thought that was normal, right? Because you do it for so long, you think these reactions your body's having is normal. And then I didn't want to feel a certain way. So rather than dealing with my emotions, feeling my emotions, I was eating them. And there's a lot of different addictions that people have. There can be sex, there can be alcohol, there can be drugs, there can be food, sugar. They're all massive ways that we can avoid feeling our emotions. And work is another one, right? I was a massive workaholic, as I love what I do so much. I can easily throw myself into it at the detriment of other things, right? So there's that beautiful perpetual balance that we seek. However, when people say to me, I don't have time, and you spoke to this earlier, to eat healthy or prepare my food. I used to work 16-hour days, and I still found time to prep my food, and I would work 6 days a week, 16-hour days, and my one day off was still work focused, right? And I still found time. You always find time for what you value. And now our phones are quite so intelligent. They can tell you screen time. And I know screen time can also be, I work on my digital devices, but then I ensure that I have time away from them every day. I have time to meditate. I have time to prepare my food at some stage in the week because that's what I value. Yeah, you find time for what you value, and you'll meet hundreds of CEOs, and Steve Jobs being a huge one that everyone knows of on the planet, who didn't value his health originally. And he says later on in life, I should have paid more attention to my health. Right? No one on their deathbed who's dying from a chronic illness says, should have worked harder. They always say I should have paid more attention to my health. And there are a number of CEOs and high profile people who say that they've spent their lifetime making their fortune and then they spend the rest of their life trying to recover their health. So we're saying to you today, bring a little bit more consciousness to making time to what is the most valuable asset you will ever have. And yes, it's the mind, but it's the body. Because if you've got a sharpest attack mind and your body's failing you, wow, how far are you going to get without that? Right? Because food will contribute to your mindset, contribute to your heart set because you get to feel your emotions. And there's a number of different ways, mentors and a lot of different practices can help you with that. And it will help your body. So not only will you live longer, you'll live happier, you'll live healthier. Like there's so many different contributing factors. And don't even get me started on sugar because sugar is the devil. And I've written a book about sugar being the devil. It's actually called Sugar is the Devil, on just how detrimental that is to your health. Right? And every health study that says sugar's okay for you, look who's funded it.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
And we're talking processed sugar.
Yeah.
Because fruit contains healthy sugar. Honey contains healthy sugar.
Yeah. And
so
a couple of pieces of daisy.
Yeah, there's healthy sugars out there. Yeah. So, and food is a habit. And what habit is yours? And the other thing as well is we don't always have the same eating habits in regards to timing. Yeah. So some people might need to eat little and often. Some people might need to have 2 meals a day. Some people might need just 1 meal a day. Some might just need a breakfast and dinner. For the English people, breakfast and tea. Yeah. It took me years to, Anyway, so learn about your rhythms of your food. Because it might not be the case that because you might go, well, I'm eating really healthy and I'm still getting challenges here and there within my body. And it could just be that you're eating too much or eating too little.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So it's the rhythm and the timing of when we eat, because we get with a partner and they might have a different, and you try and fit in with your partner, and then that could change how you feel physically, and then you don't know what's going on because you might be eating healthier, and it's like, well, you just eat different. Yeah. And that's something you can also tweak, experiment with. And another thing as well is we're so used to eating as a habit. It's like you get up, you have breakfast, at around midday you have lunch, or around 6 o'clock you have dinner. Well, and there's so many people, we eat when we're not actually hungry. Yeah. And then the body's just storing all this stuff, and then we're not giving it time to process because we're not doing exercise or whatever, and it just continually stores stuff because we're just overeating. The reason I'm still lean at this age is because I listen to my body. I only eat when I'm hungry.
Can I just quickly say something about hunger too? Hunger has been like 80% of the people that hunger pains that people feel is actually water. You haven't had enough water.
Yeah, you're thirsty. So I used to tell this to my son actually when he was growing up. Oh, Dad, I'm hungry. Have a glass of water first and then come back 5 minutes later. If you're still hungry, then yeah. And from what I remember, about 7 times out of 10, he was thirsty. Because kids are just great at not drinking water. And give your kids far more water than you do sugary, fizzy drinks. Because you're contributing to their ill health later in life. So if you love your kids, and I'm going to be very brutal now, get them off the Coke, get them off the Fanta, get them off all these fizzy drinks, and encourage them to drink water. Because if you contribute to their health as they get older, when they get to that age where they start choosing for themselves, you've given them a habit of choosing health. Even if you're not doing it, even if you don't have the courage to do it, have the courage to give it to your kids. Give them the health, because we're here to teach them to be better than us.
And food receptors in the brain activate after 20 minutes. So often we overeat because we haven't allowed our brain to catch up going, oh, I'm getting some food in. Yeah, good. And then go, okay, now I'm actually full. We overeat because we haven't allowed time for our body to say, okay, yeah, I've eaten enough. Or we're distracted, social media, television, we're not consciously eating, sitting there feeling, smelling, looking at the food that we're eating and really allowing it to integrate. And how is this feeling in my body? Yeah. Because then we're just, again, either distracted or, dinner parties, occasionally you might choose to overindulge, and that's okay. It's just the doing it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast, when did breakfast become sugary cereal? That's not a healthy breakfast by any means. And learning your patterns, and the way you can start to gauge this is like, make a food diary. Okay, how do I feel after I eat this food? And then how's your head? Yeah, your mind can be a great indicator. Is it foggy? Did you get a slight headache after what you just ate? Is your body reacting? Are you going straight to the bathroom, or are you feeling bloated, gassy? Have you got the runs? Have you not got the runs? These are all indicators of whether your body's accepting or rejecting food. And like Roy said, not everyone has the same pattern. I can happily only eat once or twice a day. And then there are days where my body's like, no, I need some extra food throughout the day. So then I honor it, right? And I'll hold something up against my body and go, is this, because I'm so in tune with it, is this going to be good for me? And it will say yes, and I feel my body expanding. Or I could reach for something and I'm shopping for this one and my body's like, no. I can feel it pushing it away. And like, it's okay, it's not for me. And they're like, then my nervous system settles. And that's not my mind doing it. It's my body. So, and I do like to check in regularly with it to say, is this still working for me?
And if you're watching this or listening to this and you think some of this sounds ridiculous, look at the science. Yeah. There's actually more receptors that go from the stomach to the brain than the brain to the stomach, and the same for the heart. So more information goes from the stomach up to the brain and the heart to the brain than it does from the brain to the stomach and the heart. And there's reasons for that. They talk to each other. They say we've got 3 brains. So
the stomach is its own mind.
And the thing is, we're not raised to have a conversation with our food. We're not raised to tune in and listen to what our body says. Our body is like a car in a way because, if your car's full of fuel, you can't put many more fuel in until you've used some of that fuel. We're exactly the same. Which goes back, like if you have a job where you sat around all day, you're not going to need as much fuel because you're not burning any of it off. Yes, we can burn a bit off through mental capacity and stuff like that. I'm not doubting that in any way, shape or form, but it's going to be far less than physical exercise. Yeah. And again, it still depends on how much body because some bodies are more efficient than others. Genetics. Finding out, and that'd be a great start. Find out what your genetics are. Find out when your body needs its food, what kind of food it needs, how often, how much water, and all those things all contribute. And this definitely comes in with being conscious and aware than you currently are for what the food it is that you need, because food is the most important thing in your life.
One of.
Because, without water, you'll die within 3 days. Yep. Without food, it's 7.
3 weeks.
Or 3 weeks.
Yeah. You can go 3 weeks without food, but only 3 days without water and only 3 minutes without breath.
Yeah. And I know there's trends out there about fasting. Not everybody's body's resonant for that either. My body isn't, personally.
Yeah, that's so true. And
it needs that fuel. Sorry, it needs that constant top up sometimes, because it gets intermittent fasting. Because I don't always eat, so I might just get the odd day where I don't feel like eating. So I've not consciously gone out of my way to do a fasting program. My body just naturally brings it in here and there, so the stomach gets a reset. And the reason it was called breakfast, because that's your first meal after a sleep. A 6 or 7 hour where you're not eating. That's your fast. That's your stomach's reset. And this has just popped into my mind because it was going to say, if you're craving chocolate, more often than not, you need magnesium, not chocolate. And it's just that you've grown up and your body's got a habit of knowing where it gets magnesium from. And because of a lot of the chemicals in the food these days, the body can chew through magnesium like you won't believe, which is why we then always crave chocolate, because the body's really craving magnesium. So start getting some magnesium and then see what happens.
There's a huge thing, thank you, my love, that speaks to like cravings. There's a number of if you're craving like even white bread, it's actually magnesium. Or if you're craving salt, then there's other elements, primal elements and minerals that your body's requiring, but it's used to receiving it in the form of bread or chocolate. So it's like that's why you get these cravings. And if you're constantly, because sugar is the most addictive substance on the planet, and if you're constantly having these things, and your body will naturally crave it. If you go 3 days without sugar, that's it. Sorry, my love. You won't even have to eat it again. Like your body will no longer like crave it. But if you're then having it again, then it's going to want it again. It's like that hit of drugs, right? Creates that dopamine spike. But then there's lots of other things. If you are craving, like chromium is something that we sometimes need. Zinc is something that my body craves. And I know that I'll take a supplement because it's requiring that. Tuning in, vitamin C, like how other forms can we get vitamin C into our bodies? And then by being more in tune, being a little bit more aware or educated in how my body can receive these other things, then I'm open to fueling it, and it's letting me know what it needs. Because a balanced diet with today's, unfortunately, with food being processed the way it is, it's just more challenging, right? But by returning to whole foods, we have a greater chance of nourishing our bodies with all of the trace elements and minerals that it requires. Because we don't want to be taking a supplement for everything or a multivitamin or vitamin to try and replace these. We want to try and gain as much as we can from whole foods because that's what your body knows how to absorb and it will do it automatically. Knowing that, genetics is another huge factor because kale can be either your saver or it can be your kryptonite if your body's not used to having it. You don't see people living in Antarctica, you don't see them eating a salad, right? That's just not what their bodies need or use in that freezing cold climate. They're going to need fat. They're going to need strong sources of protein. Then it's again adapting for where you're living, your genetics and your activity levels is a massive point. And I'm very clued in with genetics. I've done a lot of research with this. Again, bodies and energy, I love researching. It's like knowing what my genetics is. I'm a huge faster. My body goes hours and days. I can go hours without eating and I can literally have a meal a day. Or then it will just crave bits and pieces and then I just need little bits. But otherwise, if I'm just eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, habits, connections, family, then if I know I'm going to catch up with someone for breakfast, then I might just leave my meal of an evening. So then I am hungrier in the morning and that will be my break fast. But it's okay, my loves, to feel hungry. People are not used to feeling hungry and they think they've got to eat and eat more. There's a little pang of hunger. It's okay. Allow your body to feel hungry. Allow it to use some of the stored fat in your body because it's got plenty unless you're like below 10 body fat percentage, right? It has a lot of stores that it can use. And there's a whole, thing about keto and whatever you choose to, however you choose to eat, make sure it works for you because keto is not for everybody. And I've tried every diet out on the planet because I just love to see what feels good for my body. And then I'm in tune with that. But knowing your genetics will be a massive factor. And if you're raised or living in a very cold environment, then having ice cream smoothies is not your thing. Your body's not going to be able to, it's not going to be thriving in that environment.
Yeah, and speaking about genetics, the best dietitian is you. Yeah. With a bit of research in your own body. It'll be far more accurate than any dietitian out there, any so-called expert, because they're an expert because they've done something that works for them. And more often than not, they're not considering that it's definitely going to work for everyone else. No, it doesn't. I got to where I was because I only listened to me. And every time I went to, I've never needed to go to a dietitian, luckily enough. But work on finding your own rhythm. Be your own dietitian, and all the effort it takes to drive to or be in contact with and follow the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th diet that you've done. Use that energy instead to become more conscious with yourself, more conscious with your diet, more conscious with the food that you eat and the environment and the genetics that are driving all this, and start to talk to your body every day until it starts to talk back. And it will.
Yeah.
You just got to give it time, because it's like anything. You're in at the moment. Your habit is here, and if it's unfortunate and you've got an unhealthy habit with food, it's going to take time and effort and consistency and persistence to get here. Don't give up, because your health is worth it, even if it takes a couple of years. A couple of years is better to be in a healthier place in a couple of years rather than in a even more unhealthy place, because, as Aida was saying earlier about all these workaholics and these people that just burnt themselves out, every single one of them regretted it, not looking after their health, because they never got the time to enjoy it. Rest is important, just like fasting. There's so many pseudo sciences out there for diets, and again, look who's funding the articles about the diet. And another thing, this is more for sports people, this is what I used to do. There's Mother Earth provides so much natural alternatives to supplements. Playing soccer my whole life, it was always banana at half time, because banana releases energy slowly. But then at the end of it, it wasn't energy drinks, it was coconut water, because that has all the electrolytes and none of the sugar. Natural sugars, natural electrolytes. And more often than not these days, it's actually cheaper than the energy drinks.
Yeah.
And far much better for you. So I think like the energy drinks are about 750 millilitres, and a coconut water is usually a litre, so you even get more. And you only have to look on the back at the ingredients, and it tells you. And all it is,
without sugar.
yeah, well, it's actually hard. It's actually harder to find coconut water with added sugar than just natural, something that says 100% coconut water, and then it tells you all the electrolytes it's got in it, like potassium and iron and all these things that coconut water contains, that are the electrolytes that your body needs, that you've burnt out from running around or the gym or whatever it is, whatever exercise that you've done. So, and that all that takes is, again, is a little bit of research, and you've definitely got time for that, because I can guarantee everyone's just spent under half an hour on TikTok or all these other platforms. You spend that half an hour instead on your health, and you'll benefit from it within a year easily.
And I know that you mentioned about dietitians and things and being your own self, but it's okay to seek advice when you first start, right? We learn along the way. So if you have no concept of where to start, then reach out to someone who is a little bit more in tune, and then see how it resonates with you. Or have a look at The Medical Medium. Like, it's a great book. Have a look at someone who is more in tune with the energy of food rather than just another diet plan, right? Because again, like you said, they are selling what works for them, and that's great. And even when I work with people, and we both do as guides and mentors, and we're like, okay, this is what I'm, Spirit's sharing with you about your body. Tune into that even more so with yourself, and we're getting the recommendations. So find someone who can connect in with that for you, that works best for you. Yeah. Because even though we may, again, still all live in the same country, he's English, I'm Mediterranean heritage, we now live in Australia. So all of those factors, and both our parents are different heritage, right? All of those factors will come into play with what you eat, how you eat, and when you eat, and the water you drink. So.
Yeah. And it just takes time. And it's interesting as well, like even the tiniest little tweak can make the massive difference. If your body's just missing that one element, maybe you're not quite getting enough iron or even a certain type of herb, it's amazing how much difference that can make, that can then make your body work and digest better and all those things. And it's even worth looking into getting tests for parasites, things like that. External factors that can make it, that are causing issues, and you're eating healthy and there's still stuff going on and you can't quite pinpoint it. Research. It's always research. And again, we're not doctors, but we are people that have been in tune with our bodies for many, 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 many years, and therefore have in the scientific method, have a big data. and we've tried things and ticked things off and looked at the factors, and just as Aida said, that, you know, Mediterranean, English, then our parents, like, you know, my heritage then goes Irish and Swedish, so, you know, all these things come in with that can or might not make a difference to the diet. And then you move to a completely different country, which is a different climate, and then your body actually adjusts. And, you know, being in England, eating 2 veg hot meals all the time, coming to Australia, I start craving salads and cold food.
Is it so hot here?
Yeah, because my body's going, actually, there's a change of environment. The water's different. The food's different. Like in England, I was not allergic to any kind of food. In Australia, I am, because they use a lot more chemicals. To whether it's to keep the food longer, because it's hotter and longer traveling distances to get food from A to B. You know, there's many other factors. It's not always a bad reason why they're putting the chemicals on. But, you know, I can't drink milk in Australia, but I could in England. My dad was a milkman. I grew up with drinking milk without any kind of an issue. So these are factors, if you've just moved even 1,000 miles north or 1,000 miles south, that could make a massive, massive difference. You'd be surprised, because the different soil, different wind and different rain and different water, because it's coming from a different mountain, can all those factors all tune in, and then your diet may have to change.
So powerful with just, just like looking into the elements and eating seasonally too. So whilst in winter, when things are colder, your body isn't necessarily going to want salads or, you know, fruit smoothies or smoothie bowls or milkshakes and that sort of thing, because it's cooler and your body will crave warmer foods. And my loves, it doesn't have to be tasteless. I've been a gluten-free vegan, if you like, to label something, for a long time. I've been a whole foodie for about 20 years. And like this one's soft and surprised, like, oh, I didn't realize like healthy food can taste this good, right? Because I love to use herbs, spices, you know, moderate amount of good quality salt, sometimes Celtic, sometimes my body's like, sea salt, please. And sometimes it's mountain salt. So I'm listening even my body with what the kind of salts my body's craving, right? Because it will change. And that depends on what's going on with me as well. So like use your flavorings, but not the stuff that you get in a jar or sauces. Like create your own with just fresh herbs and spices. They are bountiful, they are super cheap, and they are flavorful. So food does not need to be boring or flavorless. Healthy food is just allow your body, and I think it takes, I'm just trying to tune in now with what Spirit was saying. I think it's about 7 to 10 days for your taste buds to then adapt to the new eating habit. I think it's only 7 days, like super quick, if you like. Not as fast as sugar, 3 days. If you can go cold turkey with sugar for 3 days, it will be the greatest thing and greatest reward your body you can ever do for your body. And then the next thing is just allowing it to enjoy the flavors of vegetables again, because you've been masking it for so long or shifting it and changing it. Then you're like, actually, what does an apple on its own taste like? A carrot, celery, like I could go on because I love veggies. I love food.
That's it. You know, we could just go on and on and on because it's such a big subject, and I'm sort of getting close to the end of time for this podcast. And look, ultimately, listen to yourself, and be honest with yourself as well, because you know when you're eating for the wrong reasons and when you're eating for the right reasons, and the most overruling best piece of advice I can give is eat in moderation. Yeah. Eat for the body, eat for the soul, eat for the healthiness. It's so, like I say, it's okay to sometimes go out and just have a McDonald's. It's when you're doing it every day. Yeah. You know.
Do it for medicine, not.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it's to eat for the soul that's just going to make you feel good for a day because you just had an off day or whatever. If that makes you feel good, that's actually going to add to your health. Because food makes you feel a certain way.
If I may just quickly, just speak to that very, very quickly. The reason why, you know, there's this whole thing about, you know, women are upset, they get a tub of ice cream, right? Or people are upset, they drink milk or have ice cream. Because we were conditioned as children, because breast milk is actually sweet, creamy, white substance, right? So when we cried out for mama, and if we were blessed enough to be able to have breast milk, then that's the creamy sweetness that we were accustomed to having. Yeah. And then if we weren't blessed enough to have breast milk, then formula milk is usually sweeter, and it's all of the nutrients in it, the best that our mamas could provide for us. Or then milk is also cream, sweet, right, substance. So then we become accustomed that every time I cried out or I needed food, or we got accustomed. So your brain has been conditioned, your body's been conditioned to crave creamy, sweet substances when we are emotional in some way or we're hungry, right? So then that's the conditioning process of coming back to eating whole foods again and allowing your body to recondition itself, allowing your mind, heart to go, I'm loving this food. I'm enjoying this food. It's vibrant. It's good for me. But that's very interesting research on why our bodies are conditioned to crave sweet foods, especially when we are a little bit emotional. Give yourself a little bit of that thing. It's a treat, not an always food. And that's the primary difference.
Exactly. And we can change our diet with a bit of effort, consistency and persistence and time and willpower. Those things can create a new habit of health. Ultimately, it's your choice.
Yeah. And it's always your choice. Allow yourself to be empowered with your choice. Is this going to be for my highest good? Or am I going to select this?
But ultimately, where you are today, that's been your choice.
And where you're going, your choice.
How your body is today, it's all been your choice. Yeah. You stopped being force-fed from about the age of 2. Yeah. So if you're an adult now, which you should be watching this, not that this is a purely adult show, but you're going to be at least 18. That's 16 years worth of choosing what you want to eat, pretty much. Even if you ain't cooked it, you still chose. You know what I mean? So you can change it from today onwards if you feel you need to. So that's it. That's your conscious relationship around your body. And I know it was all mainly food-based, but basically your body, that's its fuel. You can't put rubbish fuel in a car and expect it to go well. So that's where we'll leave it. Amazing. Thank you again for listening. I didn't thank the listeners. I'll do it at the end. But thank you again for all the listeners. Yeah. We truly appreciate all of you from around the world, from the bottom of my heart, that tune in and that have tuned in regularly to this show. And that's what keeps me going. And if I help one person each show, it was worth doing it, definitely. So thank you again for watching and listening, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care.